Hi guys, welcome back to the channel Tech Concept with Ume. This is our last video on the CRUD functions series, and by extension, our last video on the relational database module. Here, we will be implementing the update and delete functions of CRUD. You will note that in the last uploaded video, we implemented the create and read functions. As such, this video is aimed at completing the last two functions. Before I go any further, I want to request that you subscribe to the channel. If you look to the bottom right of the viewport that this video is being displayed on, you will see a red subscription watermark. If you take your mouse and hover around the watermark, a subscription button will appear. Please do well to hit the subscription button. Also, please hit the like icon, as increased likes will prompt YouTube to recommend the video more. Now, to reiterate again, CRUD as a concept is crucial to conceptualizing the mechanics of most web applications. Pointedly, for interactions between web applications and databases, it is imperative to be well versed about CRUD functions. We will begin by opening up PostgreSQL, just like I have done, and log into our test_py database. We will again perform a select all command, just like I have done, on our students table. So you'll notice that I have done that here. Now, take note that our table is populated with 5 records. Pay particular attention to the names. Now, it may be decided that we will change the names Alan and James, which correspond to IDs 4 and 5. Alan and James. Now, for this modification exercise, in respective order, we will change their names to Maradona and Ronaldo. Now, this modification will represent our update function, as this relates to CRUD functions. We will execute this change from the PyCharm environment and then come back to PostgreSQL to confirm if the modification was successfully implemented. So let us navigate to our PyCharm environment, and here we will commence our update task. Now, just like with the previous video, I have typed out the code. I figured that this will speed up the process. Therefore, all I'll be doing is explaining what each code piece does, after which I will execute the code. So beginning at the top, we have the import scicub2, command, and this imports the driver to be used. Next, we have the try block, which lets us, test a block of codes for errors. As such, the subsequent lines beneath the try block are tested, for these errors. And the block is used alongside the exception block employed to handle noticed errors. All right, so that's the exception block, which is used alongside. I don't want to dwell on these because I have repeated them, uh, these statements multiple times with our previous videos. Next, we have, our URL or connection string, and this will open, okay, I have it highlighted. This will open a connection to the database that we hope to connect to test_py in this case. And if the connection is successfully open, a connection object will be created. So you need to ensure that your parameters are defined properly using information relevant to your settings. Note, we may not have the same database name, we may not have the same user, we may not have the same, password or host or port. So take note of those. All right. Right beneath that, we have the cursor, okay, which is used for traversal throughout the databases or databases connection with, Python. All right. Then we have 3 lines of code beneath our cursor. All right. So these are SQL statements. Now, just like with the previous example on insert, all right, these 3 lines of code uh, work together. And here we have created variables for our update SQL statement and our records to be modified. Now notice that for records to be changed, where student's ID is 4, the instruction is that the name be changed to Maradona, as you will see here, where the ID is 4, the name is supposed to be changed to Maradona, okay? And where the student ID is 5, the instruction is that the name be changed to Ronaldo, as you will see here. All right. And then, we have our cursor that executes many method to execute those SQL statements represented by the variables we created. All right. Underneath that, we have the con.commit method, okay, which commits the SQL transaction, you know, that is carried out in the execute many method. Remember, it's important to commit completed transactions. All right. Underneath that, we have, the row count, um, attributes. And underneath that, we have a print function, which works alongside the row count attributes. Now, the row count attributes, all right, is intended to count the number of rows that update operations have been carried out on. Now, the print function underneath it um, displays the output of the row count operation, as well as the text in quotes within the print function. All right. Now, underneath that, we have our accept block, which, as we have indicated severally, works alongside the print, function below it, okay, as was done with previous examples, but also works alongside the try block, all right, which is used to catch all errors in the lines of preceding code above it, all right. Then below that, we have a finally statement or keyword, and the finally keyword works alongside the try block as well as the accept block. And it ensures that whatever is beneath it is executed, notwithstanding whether an error is noticed or not. Okay, the instructions, it is intended to execute include closing the cursor, closing the connection object, and executing a print function, you know, um, print statement using the print function to indicate that the connection has been closed. All right. So that's our update parts of the CRUD functions. Again, I am going to scroll up somewhat so that you can see the code at a glance in the event that you want to, pause and type out. All right, I'm going to scroll to this, to the right, just so that you can see the end of my, you know, connection string or URL. All right, so you can see that. I'm leaving it for a few seconds so that you can see it properly. All right, I'm going to scroll back here and leave it for some more seconds. Okay, I'm going to scroll to the bottom as well so that you can see the end of code. Okay, I believe that's sufficient time to have taken notes of, how our code is written. I'm going to reiterate that Python, pays attention to indentations. It's very important that your indentations are right. All right, so now I'm going to run this code. So I'm going to come here. Okay, I just want us to see, the bottom part where our results will be displayed. All right, I'm going to right click on this tab, which is our update tab, and then I'm going to say run. Okay, and you see here we have 2 records updated. Okay, now we're going to go back to our PostgreSQL environment to confirm. Now you're going to perform another select command. Remember, with our first select command, students with IDs 4 and 5 are Alan and James. Let's see what we have now. Select all from students. Okay, and you will note that now students with IDs 4 and 5 are Maradona and Ronaldo. So our update function was successful. Now we're going to go back to PyCharm to perform the delete part of, our CRUD functions. I'm going to minimize that screen. I'm going to go to our delete, code. Right. Now, for our delete part of the CRUD functions, I'm not going to repeat explanations for most of the code syntax, as I have done this severally with our previous examples. I will only point out what was done to execute a delete function. So here we defined a function called delete data. You'll see that at the top here, defined a function called delete data. Right, so that's that. Now our function is programmed to execute our SQL statements in line 10. So you look at line 10, where we have our SQL statement, as well as line 11, which instructs that a delete function be executed for any student ID that is placed in the placeholder student ID. All right, the placeholder student ID. As such, when our function is called at the end of the code, whatever student ID is placed in the parenthesis provision of our called function, which is below, all right, here in the parenthesis of our called function, will be deleted, provided it is an ID for an existing student record in our student table. All right, so that's what we have done. That's our SQL statement. All other code pieces are similar to what we have talked about with insert, with, update, with, create, with select. All right. All other code pieces are quite similar. So we're not going to dwell on those anymore. I will proceed to run my code. Okay, so first of all, let me scroll up a little bit so that you can see, okay, what it looks like. All right, I'm going to scroll to the right as well so that you can see the end of our parameter, definition. Okay, let me do that again one more time. Well, it's similar to what I did with our previous example, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. Okay, I am going to scroll down to the end of the code where we have our called function. All right, now I am going to run our delete, code. Right, so I'm going to right click here and then I'm going to select the run option. And here we're going to see one record deleted successfully. All right. So if we went back to PostgreSQL, let's go back there and we do a select command, select all from students. Okay. All right. You will see that student with ID 5 has been deleted. Okay. So once we've confirmed this, we know that our CRUD functions, you know, are completely executed. We have done CRUD in its entirety. Create, read, update, and delete. So with this example completed, we have come to the end of our CRUD function topic. And by and large, the end of our database module. Wow. Now, this does not mean goodbye, like, some people may think. Just means that we'll be moving on to other tech-related topics, considering that we have, to a large extent, comprehensively covered knowledge required to deal with relational databases. Now, please remember that your subscriptions, likes, and comments are important to us. It keeps us motivated and keen to keep bringing you quality tech-related content. So please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. But it's goodbye for now. When we come back next, we will be talking about other tech-related, topics. Thank you.